That Paul says that works are useless for salvation, and James, one of the 12, says the opposite.
Sure. Okay. So the first really big problem here is that Justin seems to deny the gospel message of salvation by grace through faith. Because right here he says that James, his interpretation of James is that works are not useless for salvation, that works are required for salvation. That's his interpretation of that, which
Right.
is a contradiction of the gospel message, which is that we are saved by grace through faith, which, by the way, is the same gospel message that is affirmed by James and the other apostles in Acts 15. So James
Mm.
is not teaching that works are required for salvation, as Justin understands. In any case, James, who was not one of the 12 disciples, by the way, he or not one of the 12 apostles. James does not say that salvation comes through works. As I said, there's no contradiction. I go into much more detail on this in my book, When Faith Works. I have an entire chapter dealing with this issue. But the first thing to point out is that James does not deny that we are justified by faith. He doesn't teach us that faith can't save. He teaches us that counterfeit faith can't save. That's
Mm.
the distinction. So James is not against faith alone for salvation. He's against counterfeit faith. He's saying counterfeit faith can't save you. So what is counterfeit faith? It's the kind of faith, as James goes on to explain, which might intellectually affirm certain biblical truths, but it doesn't lead to good works. True saving faith, according to James and Paul, is fully surrendering to Yeshua. It's committing your life to him in not only your words and not only your intellectual beliefs, but in your deeds. It's committing to follow him, as Luke 9:23 says, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. So James agrees with Paul that we are saved by faith alone, but faith needs to be defined correctly. And that's what James is dealing with. He's giving the correct definition of faith. He's emphasizing that doing good works is the necessary outgrowth of saving faith. Faith that doesn't produce good works is a counterfeit. And that counterfeit faith cannot save you. That's what James is saying. And the second thing that I would add to that is that Paul taught the same thing as James. He said that true saving faith is evidenced by works, that's the type of faith that justifies us. In Ephesians 2:8, which is what Justin quoted, Paul says, by grace you have been saved through faith, not as a result of works, right? But when we look at the very next verse, we see that Paul again clearly affirms that saving faith will result in good works. This is
Mm.
what he says in Ephesians 2:10. He says, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. So there's no
Mm.
contradiction between James and Paul. Both of them affirm the gospel message, which is that we are saved by grace through faith in the Messiah, and our saving faith will produce good works.